Munjya. The demon's curse. The story begins in a remote, ancient village nestled at the edge of a dark, dense forest. This village has long been haunted by tales of an unspeakable evil known as Munjya, a demonic entity said to be born from betrayal and dark magic centuries ago. The villagers believe Munjya to be bound to the forest, only emerging when summoned by cursed rituals, and those who see it never survive. Over time, the legend has become a terrifying, yet distant memory, with the village elders warning younger generations to stay away from the forest. The protagonist, Arif, is a young man from the city, who reluctantly returns to the village after the death of his estranged grandmother. Though skeptical of the village's superstitions, Arif soon finds himself unraveling the mysterious past of his family. His grandmother, it turns out, was a part of a secret group of villagers tasked with keeping Munjya's curse contained. Arif discovers an old journal, written by his grandmother, detailing the dark history of the demon and a chilling prophecy that warns of Munjya's inevitable return. As Arif delves deeper, he learns that the demon was originally summoned centuries ago by a vengeful sorcerer after being wronged by the village. Munjya thrived on human fear, feeding on the souls of the guilty and innocent alike. The only way to banish it was through a dangerous, complex ritual that was performed by Arif's ancestors, binding Munjya to the forest. However, the ritual was not permanent. It required constant upkeep, and any disruption could release the demon once more. Arif's curiosity draws him to the forest, where strange and unexplainable events begin to unfold. Shadows move on their own, eerie whispers echo in the wind, and animals flee the area. One night, Arif finds himself standing at the entrance of the forest, unable to resist the pull of something dark and ancient. He stumbles upon a group of villagers secretly performing a half-forgotten ritual to contain Munjya, but their efforts are futile. The ritual is interrupted by Arif's presence, and the demon is awakened from its slumber. As Munjya is unleashed, chaos grips the village. People begin to disappear, and strange occurrences escalate. The air grows colder, the nights longer, and an overwhelming sense of dread takes hold of everyone. Munjya, feeding off fear, becomes stronger with each passing day. Arif realizes that his own family is directly connected to the curse. He is part of the prophecy his grandmother had warned about. The demon is tied to him, and only he can end the curse for good. In a race against time, Arif teams up with Neil, a local who has studied the legends of Munjya in secret, and Riya, a journalist investigating the paranormal activity. Together, they seek the remnants of the original binding spell. They travel deep into the forest, where Munjya lurks, twisting the landscape into a nightmarish realm. They are haunted by visions of their own fears, designed to break their spirits and weaken their resolve. Arif learns that to banish Munjya, he must confront the darkest secrets of his lineage. He discovers that his own ancestors were not merely victims but played a role in summoning the demon for power and protection. This revelation breaks him emotionally, but he knows he must face the truth to end the horror once and for all. The climax of the story builds as Arif, Neil, and Riya perform the ancient ritual under the blood moon, where the boundary between the living and the dead is thinnest. Munjya attacks them, manipulating their deepest fears to break their will. Arif must confront his guilt and fear head-on, finally accepting his connection to the demon and understanding that only by sacrificing his bloodline can he end the curse forever. In a final showdown, Arif chooses to offer himself as a vessel to trap Munjya. The ritual succeeds, but at a great cost. Arif is consumed by the demon, and his sacrifice seals Munjya back into the forest. The village is saved, but Arif's memory fades from existence, as though he never existed. As the village descends into chaos with Munjya's return, the situation grows more desperate. The once quiet, superstitious village becomes a battleground for survival, with the villagers turning on one another in their fear. Strange occurrences intensify. Crops wither overnight, livestock is found dead with no apparent cause, and a thick fog blankets the village, isolating it from the outside world. Arav, Neil, and Riya realize that they are running out of time, not only because Munjya is growing stronger but because the villagers, driven mad with fear, may become just as dangerous as the demon itself. Arav continues to dig deeper into his grandmother's journal and the village's dark history, discovering an even more disturbing truth. The village council, including his own family, were complicit in Munjya's summoning all those centuries ago. They had made a pact with the sorcerer who first called upon the demon, trading their souls for protection and prosperity. The ritual that bound Munjya was actually a temporary one, meant to be renewed every century by a member of Arav's bloodline. However, his grandmother, the last keeper of the ritual, had refused to continue the dark tradition, choosing instead to seal the journal away, hoping the curse would die with her. But Munjya's power lies in the pact itself. Without the ritual to contain him, the demon is free to roam once more, seeking revenge on the descendants of those who betrayed it. Arav, unknowingly tied to this pact, is not only responsible for breaking it but is also Munjya's primary target. As they prepare for the final confrontation, the tension between Arav, Neil, and Riya grows. Neil, who has always believed in the supernatural, begins to question Arav's intentions. He fears that Arav's connection to the curse might make him vulnerable to Munjya's influence. Riya, on the other hand, struggles with her own fears, haunted by a tragic past that Munjya exploits to weaken her resolve. Arav, now feeling the weight of his family's dark legacy, starts experiencing visions, nightmarish glimpses of the demon's torment as it slowly manipulates his mind. The three of them are forced to venture deep into the cursed forest. The deeper they go, the more distorted reality becomes. Time bends, the trees seem to whisper, and unseen eyes are constantly watching them. They encounter terrifying illusions. Riya sees her lost loved ones beckoning her to join them. Neil is haunted by shadowy figures of the villagers who died at Munjya's hands, and Arav sees his grandmother, warning him to turn back before it's too late. Inside the heart of the forest, they come across the remains of an ancient, abandoned temple, the place where Munjya was first summoned. This temple, now crumbling and overgrown with twisted vines, holds the key to the ritual. They find cryptic inscriptions on the walls and symbols meant to bind the demon once again. But they also discover something far more sinister, the sorcerer's final note. It reveals that the only way to fully end Munjya's reign is through a blood sacrifice of the last surviving member of the original pact, Arav. Arav is left with an impossible choice. If he sacrifices himself, the demon will be trapped forever, but his soul will be bound to the forest, unable to rest. If he refuses, the curse will continue, and Munjya will consume not just the village but the entire region. His inner turmoil reaches its peak as Munjya begins to manifest physically, a towering, shadowy figure with glowing red eyes and twisted limbs, feeding on the terror that grips them all. Neil and Riya, realizing the gravity of the situation, try to convince Arav not to give in to the demon's demands, believing there must be another way. But Arav, after seeing more visions of his ancestors' betrayal and the destruction Munjya will bring if left unchecked, knows what he must do in the film's emotional climax. Arav, with a heavy heart, performs the final act of the ritual. He cuts his palm and marks the temple floor with his blood, reciting the ancient words from his grandmother's journal. As he does so, Munjya erupts from the shadows, roaring in fury. The demon attempts to stop the ritual, but Arav stands firm, his resolve strengthened by the knowledge that this is the only way to protect those he cares about. Munjya engulfs Arav in a wave of darkness, trying to pull him into the abyss. For a moment, it seems as though Arav might succumb, but just as Munjya prepares to devour his soul, the ritual reaches its peak. The temple walls shake, and a blinding light bursts from the symbols on the ground. Munjya's horrifying screech fills the air as the demon is dragged back into the depths of the forest, bound once more. Arav, weakened but victorious, collapses. Neil and Riya rush to his side, but it's too late. Arav, now bound to the curse, fades into the mist, his body disappearing as Munjya is sealed away for good. The village is saved, but Arav's memory begins to vanish from the minds of everyone who knew him. Only Neil and Riya remember what happened, and they leave the village, haunted by the events they witnessed. The final scene takes place years later. The village is peaceful again, its people unaware of the dark curse that once loomed over them. However, deep in the forest, the wind carries an ominous whisper, Munjya's name. A new family moves into the village, and their child, wandering near the forest's edge, stumbles upon an old journal hidden beneath the roots of a gnarled tree. As the child opens the journal, a shadow flickers behind them, and the cycle begins anew. The curse, it seems, will never truly die. The story's underlying theme explores the weight of ancestral sins and the idea that evil, once unleashed, can never fully be contained. Munjya becomes more than just a demon. It represents the consequences of human greed, betrayal, and fear. The film builds suspense through atmospheric horror, psychological tension, and the gradual unraveling of a dark, twisted family legacy. The ending, with its lingering sense of dread and cyclical nature, leaves the audience questioning whether the evil has truly been vanquished or if it merely waits for another chance to escape. As Munjya is sealed, the village seems to return to normalcy, but the lingering shadow of the curse refuses to fully dissipate. Life in the village continues, but the villagers are left with an unsettling feeling, as if something isn't quite right. In their hearts, they know they are free, for now, but they remain haunted by what they can't remember, as though a dark piece of their past has been forcefully erased. Years pass, and the village begins to recover from the trauma, but strange occurrences continue to plague the outskirts near the forest. Some say they can still hear whispers carried by the wind at night, calling out in a language no one understands. Children are warned to stay away from the forest, yet their natural curiosity often brings them to its edge, where they report seeing shadowy figures moving between the trees. Despite the village's collective silence about what transpired, fear lingers just beneath the surface. Neil and Riya, both profoundly changed by their ordeal, leave the village and go their separate ways. Neil, still fascinated by the paranormal, becomes obsessed with finding a way to destroy Munjya once and for all, believing that Arav's sacrifice was a temporary solution. He immerses himself in ancient occult texts, traveling across the country to consult with mystics, historians, and anyone who may have knowledge of Munjya's true origins. As he delves deeper into forbidden knowledge, he becomes convinced that the demon is part of something much larger, a cosmic force of darkness that cannot be defeated by mere rituals. Riya, traumatized by the events, tries to return to a normal life, abandoning her pursuit of the paranormal and shifting to more mundane journalism. Yet, she's plagued by recurring nightmares of the forest, the whispering voices, and the blood-red eyes of Munjya. Every night, the visions grow worse, as if the demon is still reaching out to her, pulling her back into its world. Riya begins to suspect that something was left unfinished in the forest and that the curse may still be active. One day, Riya receives a mysterious letter. No return address, no signature, just a note written in trembling handwriting. It's not over. Meet me where it began. She instantly recognizes Neil's handwriting. Despite her better judgment, her curiosity gets the better of her, and she returns to the village. When Riya arrives, she finds the village eerily unchanged, frozen in time. The elders still keep to their silence, and the villagers carry on with their lives as if the horrors of the past never happened. Neil has been waiting for her at the old temple near the forest, his appearance gaunt and haggard from years of obsession. His research has led him to a shocking discovery. Munjya's curse is tied not only to the village but to the land itself, and it extends far beyond what they initially thought. Neil reveals that Arav's sacrifice merely sealed Munjya for another cycle, but the demon was never truly destroyed. It is bound to return, hungrier and more powerful than before. Munjya, he explains, is part of an ancient pantheon of dark entities that have existed since before humanity, feeding on fear, chaos, and despair. The forest where Munjya resides is not just a haunted place. It is a portal, a thin veil between the human world and an abyss where these entities dwell. Neil is convinced that there is a way to close the portal forever, but it requires a dangerous, forbidden ritual that no one has ever survived. The ritual demands the ultimate price, sacrificing not only one's life but their very soul to seal the portal and sever the connection to the dark dimension. Riya, initially resistant, is eventually swayed when she realizes that the nightmares she has been experiencing are a warning. Munjya is still trying to break free, and if they don't act soon, the demon will return stronger than ever, threatening not only the village but the entire world. They gather the remnants of Arav's journal and Neil's occult research, preparing to face Munjya once more. But they are not alone. As they begin the ritual, they are confronted by a group of mysterious strangers, outsiders who have been drawn to the village by Munjya's dark energy. These strangers, clad in old robes and speaking in cryptic riddles, claim to be part of an ancient order dedicated to maintaining the balance between light and dark. They warn Neil and Riya that by attempting to seal the portal, they risk disrupting the balance and unleashing something far worse than Munjya. Torn between their desire to destroy Munjya and the warnings of the strangers, Neil and Riya face an impossible choice. Do they trust these outsiders and leave the portal alone, or do they continue with the ritual, risking their lives and souls in the hope of ridding the world of Munjya's evil forever? The tension escalates as they proceed with the ritual, the air thick with malevolent energy. The forest itself seems to come alive, the trees groaning and twisting as though reacting to the power being summoned. Munjya, sensing the threat, begins to manifest once more, a shadowy figure materializing from the darkness. The ritual requires Neil and Riya to confront their deepest fears. Riya sees her lost loved ones, beckoning her to join them in the afterlife, while Neil is haunted by visions of past victims of Munjya, accusing him of meddling with forces beyond his understanding. As the final incantation is spoken, Munjya's full form emerges, a grotesque, nightmarish creature of shadow and flame, its eyes burning with ancient malice. Neil, realizing that the outsiders were right and that they have gone too far, sacrifices himself to contain Munjya, offering his soul to the demon to prevent it from breaking free. His sacrifice temporarily binds Munjya once more, but the strain is too much for Riya, who collapses, unconscious. When Riya awakens, she is alone. The village is eerily silent, and Neil is gone. The strangers have disappeared, leaving behind only cryptic markings in the temple, and the portal seems sealed, for now. But as she leaves the forest, she senses that the battle is not over. Munjya may be contained, but the balance has been disturbed, and other forces are stirring. The story closes with Riya leaving the village, her face etched with sorrow. She carries the weight of everything she's experienced, knowing that the world remains vulnerable to the forces lurking in the shadows. As she drives away, the camera lingers on the forest's edge, where the wind carries faint whispers, a reminder that Munjya and its kind are always watching, waiting for their next chance to break free. In the final scene, far away in a distant city, a child stumbles upon an old, tattered journal in an antique shop. As they open the book, the pages seem to flutter on their own, stopping at a page marked with a single, chilling word, Munjya. The story ends with a haunting question. Has the cycle begun anew, or was it never truly broken? The expanded story adds more depth and mystery, with a focus on the eternal struggle between good and evil, the burden of legacy, and the cyclical nature of curses. Munjya becomes a representation of humanity's darkest fears, and the story leaves the audience questioning whether evil can ever truly be vanquished or if it is an inevitable part of existence. As time passes, Riya becomes consumed by the idea that the events in the village are only the beginning. The weight of Neil's sacrifice and the terrifying knowledge that Munjya is part of a larger, darker force eats away at her sanity. She starts seeing visions of Neil in her waking hours, sometimes a fleeting glimpse in a crowd, other times a vivid hallucination where he warns her of impending doom. She begins to question whether the demon was ever truly sealed or if it is manipulating her from afar. Determined to uncover the full extent of Munjya's power, Riya dives deeper into the research that Neil left behind. She discovers cryptic writings about an ancient cosmic alignment that happens every few centuries, an event that weakens the barrier between the human world and the abyss where Munjya and similar dark entities dwell. The last alignment, it turns out, was during the original summoning of Munjya by the village sorcerer centuries ago, and the next one is fast approaching. The alignment will open a brief window of opportunity for Munjya to break free once and for all. If it does, it will not be bound to the forest or the village but will be able to roam freely across the world, spreading its darkness everywhere. Riya realizes that Neil's sacrifice only delayed the inevitable. Munjya is still gaining strength, preparing for the alignment. Worse, she learns that the alignment will bring more than just Munjya. Other entities from the abyss could use this opportunity to cross into the human realm, plunging the world into chaos. Riya's obsession leads her back to the village one final time. When she arrives, she finds that the village is strangely empty. The villagers, who had always lived in fear of the forest and its secrets, have either fled or disappeared. The fog that once lingered at the forest's edge now blankets the entire area, thick and unnatural, muffling sound and making it difficult to see more than a few feet ahead. The village feels more like a ghost town, an eerie silence hanging in the air. Riya's investigation leads her to a hidden cave deep within the forest, a place she had overlooked in previous visits. Inside the cave, she finds ancient symbols carved into the walls, symbols older than any she had encountered in her research. These markings describe the cosmic alignment and a ritual that could potentially prevent it from unleashing the abyss upon the world. However, the ritual requires a conduit, someone with a direct connection to the curse, someone like Arav or Neil. Without Neil, and with Arav lost to Munjya, Riya realizes that she is the only one left who might be able to perform the ritual. But the writings are vague, and the consequences of failure are catastrophic. If she missteps, she could open the portal wider, allowing even more entities to cross into the world. As she contemplates what to do, she is tormented by visions of Munjya, its eyes glowing red in the darkness, watching her, waiting for the moment it can return. Just as Riya is about to leave the cave, she is confronted by the mysterious outsiders she met before. They reveal themselves as members of an ancient secret order tasked with maintaining the balance between the realms of light and darkness. They tell her that the cosmic alignment cannot be stopped, but it can be controlled. The order has been preparing for this event for centuries, guarding the knowledge of how to keep the entities at bay. However, they need Riya's help to execute the final piece of the puzzle, the binding ritual that will keep the portal from fully opening. The order warns her that once the ritual is performed, the cost will be enormous. Not only will she have to offer her life, but her very soul will be tied to the abyss, forever keeping watch over the entities. She will become a guardian of the gate, preventing anything from crossing through but doomed to an eternal existence on the border between life and death. Riya hesitates. She has already lost so much. Her friends, her sanity, her sense of peace. But the alternative is unthinkable. If she does nothing, Munjya will return and bring untold horror with it, not just to the village, but to the entire world. The alignment is only days away, and she has no other choice. With the help of the Order, Riya prepares for the ritual. The final act must take place at the heart of the forest, where Munjya was first summoned. The night of the alignment arrives, and the sky darkens unnaturally, stars shifting into unfamiliar patterns as the cosmic forces align. The air grows thick with malevolence, and the ground trembles beneath their feet. As Riya recites the ancient incantations, the forest begins to warp and twist around her. The trees, once familiar, become gnarled and grotesque, their branches reaching out like claws. Shadows shift and swirl, and the temperature plummets as Munjya's presence grows stronger. The portal between worlds begins to open, a tear in reality itself, revealing the horrifying depths of the abyss beyond. Munjya's form materializes from the darkness, larger and more terrifying than ever before. It is no longer bound by the forest, its monstrous body towering over the clearing, its eyes glowing with a fiery, otherworldly light. The ground cracks beneath its feet, and a deafening roar echoes through the night as it reaches out for Riya, determined to consume her and break free of the abyss. But Riya stands firm, the Order chanting alongside her as she completes the ritual. In a final, desperate act, Riya offers her soul to the gate, sacrificing herself to become the eternal guardian. As she does so, a blinding light erupts from the ground, engulfing both Munjya and the portal. The demon screams in fury, thrashing as it is pulled back into the abyss, its form disintegrating in the searing light. The portal seals shut with a deafening crack, and the forest falls silent once more. Riya's body collapses, her soul now bound to the gate, forever watching over the boundary between worlds. The outsiders bow their heads in respect before disappearing into the night, their mission complete. In the aftermath, the village begins to recover, but the memory of Munjya and the curse is erased from the minds of the people. Only those who were directly involved, the members of the Order, remember what happened. The forest remains, its secrets buried once again, waiting for the next cosmic alignment. The final shot shows the village, now peaceful, with no sign of the horrors that once plagued it, but as the camera pans over the forest, the wind carries a faint, familiar whisper, Riya's voice, now the eternal guardian, warning those who dare to approach the gate. The story ends with an unsettling sense of peace and unease. Though Munjya is gone, the audience knows that Riya's sacrifice has only delayed the inevitable. The forces of the abyss are patient, and the next alignment, though far away, will come again. And when it does, someone else will be called to stand between the worlds. This extended version deepens the mythos surrounding Munjya and introduces new layers of cosmic horror, with the realization that Munjya is just one of many dark forces lurking beyond the veil. It adds more complexity to Riya's character arc, turning her into a tragic hero who must sacrifice everything to prevent a greater evil from entering the world. The story becomes a battle not only against the demon but against time and fate, with the looming threat of future alignments hanging over the conclusion, leaving room for potential sequels or expansions into a larger universe of horror.